I was reborn 15 minutes before the apocalypse. At that moment, I was taking a shower in the bathroom. Thunder rumbled outside, and I initially thought it was just a regular heavy rainstorm. But in my previous life, it was right after this thunderstorm that I opened the door and was bitten by my roommate, who had turned into a zombie. Trembling, I rinsed off the shower gel from my hands and opened the bathroom door. If it weren't for the lingering pain from the bite, I would have thought I had just had a nightmare.
Hey everyone, what time is it?
I startled my roommates as I opened the bathroom door.
It's 5 o'clock. You showered so quickly?
How can it be 5? Is everyone in the dorm?
I distinctly remembered going into the shower at 5:30.
Everyone's here. Didn't you say you wanted to shower first? Chloe let you go ahead.
It was the weekend, and most of us were homebodies. Unless we had plans to go out, we usually just lounged around the dorm.
What's wrong? Listen to me, everyone. In 45 minutes, there will be a zombie outbreak. We still have time to prepare. Notify your families, gather supplies, and lock the doors and windows. Don't go out.
Perhaps my expression was too tense, and my roommates fell silent before bursting into laughter.
Emma, did you watch too many zombie movies last night? How is that possible?
Nina clearly didn't believe me, and the others were skeptical too.
Emma, did you get a psychological shadow?
Grace, who was reading a book, asked. She was one of the few diligent students in our dorm.
Whether you believe it or not, Lily, Chloe, and I will go out to buy supplies. Nina, you prepare drinking water and fill all the buckets in the dorm. Carrie, stay in the dorm and charge all electronic devices. Block the windows with something, and don't open the door for anyone except us.
Seeing their hesitation, I added.
I'll cover the costs. Just do it quickly.
Money could solve many problems. After saying that, I took Lily and Chloe out. Each of us carried a large suitcase, fearing we wouldn't be able to bring everything back. The heavy rain didn't last long and stopped after we left. The streets were empty, and the air was filled with the scent of wet earth, making me increasingly uneasy. Fortunately, the campus convenience store was not far from our dorm. We turned a corner and arrived, and the three of us started grabbing supplies frantically.
Emma, are you serious?
Lily still had doubts and didn't believe zombies would appear.
Lily, Chloe, if you consider me a friend, trust me. Also, remember to warn your families.
The zombie that bit me last time was Lily. I guessed she had discovered the zombies and wanted to warn me in the bathroom.
All right, we'll go along with your madness.
Chloe joked as she walked over. The three of us had been friends since high school.
Make sure to tell your families.
I had already called mine. Dad said he and Mom were vacationing at our rural house. With fewer people and more food in the countryside, I believed Dad could protect Mom. My immediate concern was how to survive at school.
Don't worry, I've already told them.
Me too.
The three of us raided the grocery store, grabbing anything edible, whether it tasted good or not. I also bought a lot of drinking water and hid some biscuits in the secret compartment of my suitcase, just in case. We looked like refugees, drawing strange looks from the students in the store. But we couldn't care less about their opinions. I glanced at my watch. It was 5:20 p.m., with 10 minutes to spare.
What's going on? It was just raining and overcast.
Too weird.
I noticed the insects around and the birds flying chaotically in the sky. This unusual phenomenon signaled a zombie outbreak.
Let's go. We need to get back quickly.
Back at the dorm, I started checking the doors and windows. Thankfully, my roommates trusted me somewhat. The buckets were filled with water, and the windows were covered with newspapers. Suddenly, I remembered something and ran to the door, slamming it shut and blocking it with 2 suitcases. Only after ensuring it was secure did I relax and collapse onto the bed.
Emma, I think you've lost it.
Just as she finished speaking, a loud thunderclap sounded outside, and the sky visibly darkened. I looked out the window and saw a lightning bolt strike a large tree on campus, splitting it in half and sending up a plume of black smoke. I suddenly recalled hearing a similar thunderclap in the bathroom earlier. The lights had flickered, but I hadn't paid much attention then. Now it seemed truly frightening.
Damn, how can the weather change so quickly? My clothes are still outside.
Don't go out.
My clothes.
If they get wet, I'll wash them for you.
Guys, come and look.
Grace was at the window, lifting a corner of the newspaper, revealing the scene outside. I peeked out and was startled. The sky was covered with dark clouds, and it was raining pitch-black rain. The rain sounded like a monster's furious roar, and the roads and plants touched by the rain were slightly corroded, steaming as they released moisture.
Doesn't this look like the virus rain from the zombie movie we watched yesterday?
Exactly!
I opened the school forum and saw everyone discussing the rain and the thunderclap.
Guys, I think this rain is really off. It's best to close your doors and windows, stock up on supplies, and stay in your dorms.
I was about to send the message when I decided to click the anonymous option. I wanted to warn my classmates without putting myself at risk. I glanced at the time. It was 5:25 p.m. I felt a bit relieved that we had come back early. The heavy rain lasted for about 30 seconds before the clouds dispersed and the sun reappeared. The rapid weather changes made everyone feel extremely uncomfortable. The current bright sun gave off an eerie calm, like the calm before a storm.
The rain stopped!
Chloe shouted from the window, then let out a scream.
What happened?
There are zombies! Real zombies!
She pointed outside, her body trembling uncontrollably.
Let me see.
I leaned over to look. A male student was grabbing a female student's head. At first glance, it looked like a bully harassing a girl, but upon closer inspection, the male student was actually biting her head. After being bitten, the girl fell to the ground, only to rise again after a while and rush towards other screaming students. The campus was soon filled with screams. Inside the dormitory, everyone sat together, faces filled with fear and worry.
Emma, what do we do now?
Lily was also scared, but her mental resilience was stronger, making her more composed than the others.
I don't want to die. I'm calling the police.
Grace said, trembling as she pulled out her phone. The call was answered.
Please help me, officer.
Please stay calm. We are dispatching rescue teams. Stay where you are and do not go outside. Thank you for your cooperation.
Grace hung up, and silence followed. It meant we could only wait.
Let's organize our supplies.
I stood up and dragged the 3 suitcases to the center. At least we had plenty of food, so we wouldn't starve for a while.
Good thing we prepared earlier.
Everyone seemed a bit more relaxed. Our 3 suitcases were mostly filled with food, bread, milk, instant noodles, and various other items. These could easily last the 5 of us for a month. The water Nina had stored would suffice as long as we didn't shower. As long as nothing unexpected happened. After sorting the supplies, it was already evening. The power was still on, but we decided to turn off the lights and use small night lamps for illumination, fearing the zombies might be attracted by the light. Our dormitory was on the 3rd floor at the corner. The adjacent dorm was empty as the occupants had gone on a trip this week. With food and water secured, we felt somewhat reassured. We sat together, unable to sleep given the situation, and started browsing our phones. The school forum was already flooded. I noticed my earlier anonymous post had been pushed to the top. People commented that my prediction had come true, and some even said they had prepared food because of my post, which saved them from starving tonight.
Is anyone still alive? Someone posted in the campus group chat.
Yes. I was just napping in the dorm, or I'd be gone.
Yes.
The fact that people could still send messages indicated they were safe for now.
I'm going to starve. No food in the dorm, not sure how long I can last.
I never had the habit of stocking up. If I go out, the zombies will get me. If not, I'll just dry up here.
Soon, the chat fell silent as everyone chose to remain quiet. On the 5th day of the zombie outbreak, the weather remained as unpredictable as before, with acid rain followed by scorching sunshine. Even inside our dorm, the constant temperature changes made us miserable, as it alternated between unbearably hot and freezing cold. Fortunately, we hadn't gone hungry thanks to our stored food. However, the number of zombies on campus was visibly increasing. Some people, unable to bear the hunger in their dorms, ventured out in search of food and met their end.
Thank goodness we prepared in advance.
The police advised us to continue waiting, but some people couldn't wait any longer. They started forming small groups in chat rooms, planning to break through the encirclement. Initially, these groups pooled their resources and distributed them fairly to ensure everyone got something to eat. But as time passed, things changed. Some people began fighting their former classmates for a bite of food. Afterward, they would boast in the chat about how it was a survival of the fittest era, and the weak were just wasting resources. I typed nonsense twice in the chat, ready to send it, only to realize the message came from our class monitor and student council president, Jake. He had posted a photo of himself in the school supermarket, surrounded by supplies, some from the store and some looted from other students. He was also actively recruiting strong individuals to join his team, promising food and drink. When someone expressed dissatisfaction in the chat, Jake threatened to rob them of their supplies and feed them to the zombies. Consequently, no one dared to speak up anymore.
That Jake, using his skills to dominate the campus.
We must not let our supplies be exposed.
Our stash was a precious commodity, and if discovered, the 5 of us girls wouldn't stand a chance of protecting it. Knowing Jake's actions, we immediately reinforced our doors and windows, even dismantling a bedboard to barricade ourselves further. This was to guard against both zombies and unknown threats. On the 7th day of the outbreak, the environment outside worsened. The frequent weather changes ceased, replaced by scorching heat during the day and freezing cold at night. During the day, we had no cooling equipment and had to press ourselves against the walls to feel slightly better. At night, we huddled together under all our blankets for warmth. The school forum had gone silent, and the campus was eerily quiet, with only occasional zombie growls or the screams of students who ventured out for supplies. As time passed and we lost contact with the outside world, an unknown fear spread through our dorm.
What should we do? I can't take it anymore. I'm going to be dried out in this dorm.
Our water supply was strictly for drinking, not cooling. My heart ached at her words.
Jake and his group won't stop at the boys' dorms.
Her words set off alarm bells in my mind. If it were just zombies, we could stay in our dorm and be safe. But if people came, what would we do?
What should we do?
Nina, who hadn't washed her hair in days, sat up from her bed. Her once shiny black hair was now greasy, and she looked exhausted. We all did. The dorm's water supply had stopped on the day of the outbreak.
We can move some of our supplies to the next dorm.
I thought it was a good idea. At least if we were discovered, we would still have some supplies left. But moving the supplies meant opening the door and going out, which was dangerous.
I'll go. I'm athletic. I can take down a zombie with a couple of moves.
You think it's a fight? One bite from a zombie, and you're one of them.
If we go together.
Yeah, if we go together.
After a unanimous decision, we chose to move the supplies together. Chloe, Nina, and I would lead, with Lily and Grace following. Our dorm was just around the corner from the next one. The danger was not just going out, but also the possibility of encountering zombies. We couldn't be sure if the next dorm was zombie-free. We acted that night, each wearing winter clothes to wrap ourselves tightly. Since the outbreak, the days had become unbearably hot, and the nights freezing cold, making the zombies sluggish. I used a small mirror to check the hallway through the door crack, ensuring there were no zombies outside. Once confirmed, we slowly moved the barricades and unlocked the door, ready to step out for the first time in 7 days. The cold wind outside howled like a beast, mixed with distant zombie growls, making us shiver with fear. The once lively campus was now lifeless. I led the way, using an electronic device to light our path, holding a table leg from our dorm as a weapon in case of zombies. We quickly reached the next dorm's door, which was ajar. I swallowed hard, hesitant to enter.
I can't open it.
I gripped the table leg tightly. The dorm was pitch dark and terrifying. We stood in the third-floor hallway, looking down at the zombies wandering below, their eyes glowing green. Lily pushed the door open. I shone the light inside, relieved to find nothing. We locked the door behind us and began hiding our supplies in different spots, making the dorm look uninhabited. After finishing, our electronic device was almost out of power. We needed to use its remaining light to get back.
Let's go back quickly.
I urged, fearing the noise might attract zombies. We returned the same way, with Chloe, Nina, and I leading, and Lily and Grace following. I shone the light ahead, unaware of the pair of glowing green eyes at the end of the hallway.
Look!
The zombie, realizing we were there, started moving toward us in a strange gait, growling and attracting more zombies from below.
Don't scream! Run!
Chloe pushed us forward, staying behind with the table leg to hold off the zombie.
Let's go, all of us.
I pulled her along, my voice trembling. The zombie got closer. Lily and Nina reached our dorm door. Suddenly, Grace tripped over a fire extinguisher box, causing a loud noise that attracted more zombies.
Grace, get up.
I tried to help her, but she was too scared to move.
I can't. Please help me.
If we didn't move, we'd all be in danger. Chloe came over, using her strength to lift Grace and pull me along. We barely made it back to our dorm, barricading the door as the zombies lost their target and stopped their frenzy. We had barricaded the doors and windows with bedboards, leaving just a small gap to observe the outside. The creatures that had been around last night had dispersed after finding no targets, and the building returned to its eerie silence. We spent another 2 peaceful days, surviving on water, bread, and occasionally some self-heating rice meals. It wasn't healthy, but it kept us from starving. During this time, we noticed the number of creatures on campus was decreasing. Some brave students had even started to fend them off and venture out for food. Just when we thought we could wait it out until the police rescued us, a group of unexpected visitors arrived at our building. It was Jake and his gang. Their group had grown to over 10 people, both men and women, mostly athletes. They looked strong and carried makeshift weapons. They showed no fear when encountering the creatures, swiftly taking them down. I saw one creature almost bite Jake, but he used one of his lackeys as a shield and then decapitated both the creature and the lackey, who hadn't even turned yet, his eyes wide with disbelief.
Nina, Tone, panicking, what do we do? Jake and his gang are here.
We can't keep these supplies, looking at the sorted provisions. We had consumed some, but there was still a lot left. The water would likely be taken too. But as long as the supplies in the neighboring dorm remained hidden, we could still manage.
Jake's group started searching each room from the first floor, killing any creatures they encountered. If they found a barricaded door, they broke it down. If no one was inside, they moved on, knowing empty rooms wouldn't have supplies. Soon, they reached the third floor. After a quick search of the room where we had hidden some supplies, they headed towards our dorm.
Chloe, Tone, panicking, what do we do? They're coming. Chloe started pacing in circles, panicking.
Our hearts were in our throats. Jake was scarier than the creatures.
One of Jake's lackeys, Tone. Excited, boss, there's someone in this room.
Jake, Tone, serious, will you open the door yourselves, or should we help you?
Nina, Tone, bravely, what do you want?
Jake, Tone, unfriendly, hand over your supplies, and we'll spare you.
I looked at Lily, already forming a plan. Losing the supplies was one thing, but we couldn't let them break the door. What would we do if the creatures got in?
Wait a moment. I kicked a suitcase to the corner by the door, and we moved the boards blocking the door.
With a click, the lock opened, and we saw people other than the creatures for the first time in days. But they were here to rob us.
Jake, Tone, excited Emma, this place is a gold mine. More than I got from an entire building.
He continued to inspect our dorm, discovering the water we had stored.
Jake, Tone, excited you even have water.
His group looked at the supplies with greedy eyes. I couldn't stand their beastly behavior and closed my eyes in silent resignation. Take it and leave.
Nina, Tone, hopeful, you can take it, but can you leave us a little?
Jake pushed her aside.
Jake, Tone, unfriendly, leave some. Come with us, and I'll give you food. At most, I'll ensure you stay alive.
Jake eyed Nina lecherously. She had been the beauty of our dorm before all this happened.
Emma, Tone, serious, no way.
Jake, Tone, serious, not interested. It's not up to you. I could have you all feeding the creatures with a single command, Jake sneered, his lackeys echoing his words.
Following our boss is the best. You'll have plenty to eat and drink.
Exactly.
The girls in their group remained silent, but their bodies bore signs of abuse. It was clear what these beasts had done to them, but they didn't dare resist due to the need to survive.
Lily, Tone, serious, take the supplies and leave us alone, or aren't you afraid the government will execute you when they come to rescue us?
We all echoed her sentiment, ready to risk everything. Jake glanced at the girls in his group, his eyes flickering.
Jake, Tone, serious, fine, since we're all classmates, I'll let you go. But if you run out of supplies, you know where to find me.
His words implied that without supplies, we wouldn't last long. As we cleared out the dorm, we all breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, we got rid of those troublemakers. Just as we were about to close the door, Jake turned back and spoke to us.
Aren't you coming with me? Staying here will only lead to starvation.
We were stunned. Who was he talking to? Grace stepped out from behind us and ran towards Jake.
Grace, what are you doing?
A bad feeling crept into my heart.
Sorry, but you can't protect me. I'm going with Jake.
You should be as sensible as your friend.
Jake led Grace to the room where we had hidden our supplies.
Grace, don't forget who saved your life that day.
You ungrateful traitor!
I covered Chloe's mouth and dragged her back into the dorm.
What do we do now? All our supplies are gone. We're doomed.
The atmosphere in the dorm turned somber. Chloe rummaged through things, hoping to find any supplies they might have missed.
Jake didn't leave us anything. Even the water containers are gone.
What now, Emma?
Fortunately, I had a backup plan. I retrieved a suitcase I had kicked into a corner earlier. Inside the hidden compartments, I found several bottles of water, bread, and biscuits. Everyone gathered around me, looking at me with admiration.
I hid these just in case. Didn't expect them to come in handy now.
We rationed the supplies carefully. With 4 of us, we could last another 2 weeks. On the 15th day of the zombie outbreak, a government plane arrived over our school, broadcasting messages.
To all survivors, we will conduct a rescue operation at the highest building of school in 2 days. Please proceed to the high-rise if you are still alive.
The plane circled above, shooting at the zombies on the ground, eliminating a large number of them as they were drawn to the noise.
Great, we're saved! Chloe hugged me, almost jumping with excitement.
We all had smiles on our faces, but soon a problem loomed before us.
To reach the top floor, we would have to pass through areas likely filled with zombies.
The daytime heat filled the hallways with a rotting stench, making us want to vomit. But for survival, we didn't dare stop. On the day of the rescue, we ate all the remaining food and drank all the water, even pouring some on ourselves to avoid dehydration once we went outside. We dismantled the steel frames from our beds, as metal was sturdier than wooden table legs. The 4 of us cautiously stepped into the hallway, trying not to make any noise. As soon as we came out, we ran into Jake and his group at the entrance of our building. They had just arrived, probably having heard the same news.
Let's go, ignore them. Lily called me back to attention, and we continued forward.
When we reached the 4th floor, we saw the rescue helicopter approaching. Jake and his group had somehow attracted a large horde of zombies, which were now running and growling, drawing even more zombies. Taking advantage of the distraction, we ran for our lives. On the 6th floor corridor, I turned back and saw Jake grabbing Grace, intending to use her as a shield against the zombies.
Jake, what are you doing? Grace clung tightly to Jake's arm, refusing to let go.
You wretch! Let go of me! Do you want to get me killed? Jake shouted, trying to shake her off, but Grace held on with all her might.
Don't forget the supplies I brought you. Grace's eyes were bloodshot. She knew that if she was thrown to the zombies, she wouldn't survive.
Seeing he couldn't shake her off, Jake grabbed another girl and used her as a shield. The girl couldn't dodge in time and was quickly dragged into the zombie horde. The team, having seen this before, wasn't surprised. They believed only the strong deserved to survive. What surprised me was that Grace, despite her small frame, could still stand up to Jake. Then, they took out their weapons to fight the approaching zombies. Initially, they managed well, but as more zombies came, they began to tire.
"What do we do, boss?" one of Jake's lackeys asked, clearly struggling.
What do we do? If you can't hold them off, then die. Jake gritted his teeth and shoved the lackey into the zombie horde. The lackey didn't even have time to scream before being devoured.
No one expected Jake to be so ruthless. The team, once close to Jake, began to scatter, afraid of being the next one thrown to the zombies. Suddenly, I saw Grace grab a steel pipe and strike Jake on the back of the head. She had almost been thrown to the zombies by him and now wanted revenge.
You wretch! Jake fell, his face no longer showing his previous arrogance but fear and panic.
He probably never thought he would be thrown to the zombies himself. Soon, their entire team was devoured by the zombies. These people, who had disregarded their fellow students' lives and acted tyrannically during the crisis, were ultimately wiped out. Not daring to look back, we continued running. Finally, we reached the top floor of the dormitory. The rescue helicopter was already waiting.
Don't be afraid, students. We've developed a vaccine. The world will return to peace soon, the doctor said, injecting each of us with a dose.
The vaccine meant we wouldn't be affected by zombie bites.
Where are we going now?
To the survivor base. All survivors are being gathered there, the soldier replied.
Soon, we were transported to a survivor base. There, I reunited with my parents. Lily and Chloe also found their families. They said it was fortunate we had warned them in advance, allowing them to prepare and wait for the national rescue. I hugged my parents tightly, unable to hold back my tears. We had been through so much during this time.
I'm so glad you're safe.
We made it through, thanks to your warning.
Let's stay strong together.
My parents held my hands as we walked deeper into the base. The place was undergoing significant development, and the government was making great efforts to rescue survivors. I believed that soon, the world would return to its pre-apocalyptic state of beauty.